You're off screen there.
I know.
You're hanging on.
I'm all over the place.
Morning, Sunshine. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Look how nice we look together in our brown.
Yeah. The fashion coordinator called me this morning.
Yes. Wardrobe called.
Yeah. They hooked that up.
Yeah, we got our wardrobe.
Because that's really what people look forward to when they watch our show is our coordination. And
you know what they probably do on like a subconscious level? They're like, oh, those two are just in sync. Yin and yang. It's visually pleasing.
So what's going on today? You get first crack at it.
Oh no, I got nothing.
Really?
I have no. Okay, I do have one small thing, I guess.
This should be good.
How do you feel about you've been following the Rob Reiner drama. So if anyone's been living under a rock, director, actor Rob Reiner and his wife were murdered a few days ago, allegedly, but most likely by their son. And true to form, what we do in our society and in the entertainment industry is we now make everything political. Everything is a political fight. Everything is about division. And just like we saw when Charlie Kirk was killed, how people made it political, it got a little political when Rob Reiner was killed. Because, and I didn't even know this about him. I don't know much about him. Supposedly, I guess he was pretty outspoken against Trump. And
pretty?
Was he like really?
Off the chain.
Okay.
Yeah, he was probably top 10 highest Trump critics.
Okay.
Really was a mean dude to Trump.
Well, Trump went ahead and used social media to address that immediately after his death. Yeah. How do you feel about that?
Well, from a personal standpoint, like I don't dance on people's graves ever. Like the loss of life should always be treated with honor and dignity. And no matter how you felt about the person and how they behave, like loss of life is tragic, no matter who it is, except for Hitler. If Hitler died, like I probably wouldn't feel.
I mean, circumstantial, I guess. Yeah.
But you know, loss of life is a big deal. Now, how I feel about how the rest of society engages with death, like I don't think anybody has an appreciation. I don't think there is dignity. I don't think there is noble, gestures in politics. So I'm not surprised with people I feel are awful say and do awful things. I'm not going to defend anyone. I mean, I observe and look to see who's really awful, and I don't associate with them. And if I feel like, in a moment, would they celebrate either bad things happening to you if they disagreed, or make those bad things happen, or celebrate when you were no longer here? Like how many of those people exist? I bet you a lot of them. And so, I think politics should be completely just all dignified, noble people. They should behave a certain way, have complete decorum. There shouldn't be anyone who, punches below the belt.
They're always the bigger person.
But we didn't do that. So we're not talking about that because we were like, no, let's just bring a bunch of normies who are going to act normie and, behave. That's what normies do. If you don't think jokes were told in the confines of people's houses, whether it be Charlie Kirk or now Rob Reiner, that's who normal people are. They're awful people.
Yeah. And it's not like his post was as vile as people celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk, but it was still unnecessary, unkind. And all I keep thinking is you cannot scream bloody murder when one side does something, and the moment you get a chance, you do it too. And some people want to say, oh, but they did it first. So who's going to be the bigger person and who's going to end this shit? And I keep seeing all these posts now of people that were like, I voted for Trump. I fully support Trump and what he's doing for the country and politically, but he needs to shut up. Yeah. Like, take away his social media or his ability to comment on things that are not in direct relation to what he's doing with the country and his political moves. And I'm kind of that mindset where I'm just like, if we could take away his Twitter page, I bet you we could solve so many problems. Like, dude, just stop. Just don't. Just stay in your lane. Everybody that was all up in arms about ignorant comments made when one person was killed.
who takes his Twitter page?
The White House.
So the White House takes the Twitter page
Yeah,
away.
they're like, sir, we're blocking your page. Like, please stay off social media and let maybe our marketing team handle things.
Okay, should we do the same for Bernie Sanders? He says outlandish, mean things that are cruel and attacks other people.
Probably.
How about Chuck Schumer?
Yeah. Can we take them all away?
Would you rather complete transparency where you see the good, bad, and ugly? Or do you want a whitewash deal where if somebody's mean or somebody says, how about this?
Yeah.
Let's just make people behave.
Yeah.
So there's nothing to hide.
Stop being such a jackass in general.
So
and then it won't come out on social media.
I like that we at least get to see what real is, and it makes us uncomfortable. And in our brains, we're like, it feels like a good idea to hide this from me because I like the illusion that people don't really behave this way. But if it's, and that was, when I used to do marketing for celebrities and how they were painted by their PR people and how their, the managers behind the scenes made sure their public persona was unblemished.
Yeah.
And then you get to hang out with them for a couple of hours and you'd be like, holy shit, this is the worst person that I've ever met. How that doesn't ever leak out. It's because people are curating what the public knows about them and it's good for them, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we don't live in that era anymore. Things happen fast. We have complete access to information. Now, if you're like, was there an illusion that Trump was not a jackass, mean person before this moment? So why is this something that's all of a sudden like, oh my goodness, I guess he's not a Puritan. He didn't do the rosaries on
and
Rob
I
Reiner.
guess my biggest point and pushback is, and it's not so much him personally or any one person that does it. It's, and I already know the answer to this. It's futile. I get it. When does one side at least, if not both, grow up?
Never.
When do we bring back that respect to the position?
That's an idealistic
I know it
hopefulness.
is.
It's not going to happen and it's true. Carter says, I agree with Kelin and I'm a huge Trump fan. He is his worst own enemy. So let's play that out. Let's just say like, okay, Trump, that was really bad and you dance on the grave of someone because it was your enemy. Don't do that anymore, right? Yeah. And so we're all like, okay, guys, this is an example how we don't behave. So let's all now bring the temperature down, right?
Let's all learn how to be
right. And we all agree that, right, in the moment, because Trump did it, made the example, and now we've learned from it. How many, you might go minutes or seconds before somebody else does the exact same thing, and then we're having the exact same conversation.
Yeah.
Seconds is what it was. I remember Joe Biden saying, like, they escalated the temperature and they were accusing Trump of a bunch of stuff. People were getting all fired up about it. And then nasty things happened out in public. So Joe Biden was like, let's lower the temperature and keep this rhetoric to a minimum so people don't act on the things that we say. And I hit my stopwatch and I was like, let's see how long it is until one of yours, right?
Yeah.
Says something rhetorically that escalates the temperature. They could not do it.
Or you yourself. The person saying, let's lower the temperature.
Not going to happen.
How long until you heat it up again?
Exactly. So yes, it's self-serving to say those things, but if there's no actual, taking it serious and acting like adults, then I'm a cynic when it comes to when they say that, how true they meant. And when it was that, like, if you take a subtle shot at somebody else and then they take a subtle shot back at you, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, that was a fair exchange. You want to be super mean over here? Anything you play at somebody, turnabout is fair play, right? That's my favorite saying for 2025. And so, like, again, personally, I behave differently. And when I look at the world and it's trying to, through theater, posture itself like there's noble, I'm like, no, you're not. No, you're saying those things and that's what you think you have to say, but nobody believes you're actually going to do that. So I've already put all of them in the mean, tantruming, childish. They're all there. So when they do it, I'm like, yep, that's just what I thought was going to happen.
And unfortunately, they are sort of playing to their audience, because if you had a leader or someone in position that had that decorum, that was the bigger person, that kept their integrity at all times, didn't say what they could say, how small of a portion of the population do you think would appreciate that?
Very little.
Compared to the side that is like, yeah, you tell them, well, they did this first, so we're going to do this. Like, that's the majority. And they know that. And so
it's just, like I said, there's too many people that are fans of politics that pay attention to this stuff and think they have gravity and meaning. It's just an act. It's
like WWE.
Worse than WWE.
Yeah.
Worse.
Because it's our lives. It's real. And it's like a reality TV show.
Yeah. But if it happened tomorrow, you take a prominent conservative and something awful happens to them. It's just a matter of seconds before somebody dances on that grave, either overtly where they say you're a bad person, or they use that name in a way that does not shed, at a funeral, you don't go up there and say, the person that died, they were a total dick and whatever. What you do is you say some good things about them. You let people grieve who are personally attached to what bad happened. You're not going to insult them in that moment. There's no utility in it, right?
Or you say nothing.
Exactly. That's what I did. I said nothing.
Yeah.
Said nothing. Either way.
Sorry for your loss.
That's it.
Sorry if you're grieving.
But that's how. But we if we minimize life to begin with, then we don't appreciate death, because what is death? I mean, in Canada, they're killing people every day, making medical suicides part of their culture, right? And so it's not like, hey, there's a human being and they have intrinsic value, and we want to help them live as long as possible because it's so super rare and it's so delicate. We're not going to on purpose take somebody out. So we have wars, we have suicides, we have abortions. Like, all of our culture is like, that's not all a big thing. We watch video games. I killed 7 people earlier today in my video game. I don't really care much about that. So when Rob Reiner dies, it's just, a dude. It's dehumanizing is what we're doing.
Yeah. It is kind of like I said, it's almost like watching a reality TV show. These are all characters and your character died. Like, it's like, we're almost, like you said, dehumanizing and not realizing this was a real person with a real life and real family in a position that you happen to see everywhere just because you see them on the internet all the time or something. Have
you ever lost someone, seen that someone died, and literally in your head was like, thank God the world is a better place. I'm not sad about this. In your own head. I mean, you never said it out.
I guess Hitler. I don't know. I didn't see it.
In your realm, either
in
local,
my realm personally.
I've had several people that have wronged me to such a degree that when I read their obituary, I was a sigh of relief. A sigh of relief. No. Not happiness, because I'm not a
But you could not be bothered with even thinking that you care, kind of thing.
I do not care. I'm not going to that funeral, and I'm not all that sad. And I'm glad he is not around.
I've never experienced that. Yeah. You have?
Oh, for sure.
I mean, I think that would be human nature if they were someone that was truly awful to you.
Yeah, but I didn't run up to their parents' house and say, he was a dirtbag, right?
Social media post. Oh, yay, the world's a better place.
I just was not sad, and I said nothing at all completely. But in my head, I was like, thank goodness.
And I even had, I knew someone that knew I was a Charlie Kirk fan. And when he died, they even said to me, I'm not saying anything out of respect. You don't talk about the dead before they're even in the ground, I think was their terminology. I knew that down the road I was going to hear it. But in those first few days, they were like, I just, I'm sorry you're sad, kind of thing. The person that is like, oh, let's sing praises and be happy and this person deserved to die, is like, you're psychotic.
Yeah.
You're psychotic.
It's just a reflection that we have decoupled from what it means to die, because life has been minimized so much that we don't really care. It doesn't bother us. And in fact, you'll watch the phenomenon of getting really upset about a death, how long your brain could still latch on to you're sad. It lasts maybe a couple weeks completely. Maybe if it's super close to you, you got a month or whatever. And then you start operating as if that person was never there before. Every once in a while you get a moment where you get some sadness, you're reminded of them, but then that kind of goes away. So biologically, we're programmed to have a good relationship where grieving means that we appreciate life and we celebrate it and whatever. But if you don't have that, if you're minimizing it, then everything is math. People dying is just a statistic.
You know what I have experienced, and it'll make me go, what the heck am I doing? I have experienced somebody that either wronged me or I did not like. You're a bad person. Something awful happens to them, and I still feel bad.
You're a
I
good
feel
person.
bad for them.
You're a much better.
Like part of me is like, oh, you deserve it, and I want to be happy, and I hope you are miserable, and blah blah blah. And maybe at first there's that, but deep down is the that sucks. So I feel bad for them.
And that's where when you're an idealistic person and you watch the people that are supposed to be smarter than you in power positions to you, not only like if we took a counter argument where I was for something, you were against it, right? In your brain, I would like, oh, well, of course, if she's against it and I get my way and I'm doing the thing, she's going to hope I fail through it, right? In politics, not only do they try to, they hope that you fail, but then if they have the chance to make you fail, they're going to take it because they want to be right. So if you live in such a warring type of political class where everything is an issue, you're willing to battle and make someone suffer for, then when death happens, it's just an extension of that overall mentality. Sociopaths do sociopath stuff.
Yeah. And now we're in a culture that's sort of breeding sociopaths. You see all the time, these fake articles all over the internet that are like sowing discord and making people fight. There are people that profit when we fight with each other and polarize and get on different sides. It's so funny. I saw an article the other day on social media. I actually chuckled. It was funny. But it was about RFK Jr. and it was like RFK Jr. Basically, I don't know how I worded it. They were insinuating it was like passing a law, putting creatine in all schools. Kids will now be mandatory given so many ounces of creatine. And it even wrote like, get yoked in 2026. Kids are now going to get yoked and blah, blah, blah. I knew this is satire.
Yeah.
But it looked completely real.
Mm-hmm.
It looked completely real. And I'm like, people are going to believe this. People are going to think this is true. People are going to get all up in arms and fight about this. And it's like, we are breeding a generation that is going to not know what's real. And if they think they know what's real, get all up in arms and offended and fight with each other. And yeah, it's like, I can devalue you so much that if you have a different political viewpoint than me, you are the enemy.
Yep.
You should be destroyed. We're like becoming machines, heartless machines.
I'll tell you though, Republicans do a much better job at condemning bad behavior, not playing part of the team sport where they don't either say anything or whatever. There was a lot of Republicans that came out and said, what Trump posted on True Social was not correct. And so I give a lot of credit to those people who broke from their group to say something like that. Democrats, they circle the wagons. They're not all about, somebody says something stupid and they celebrate it too much. Like they're not vocal about it.
It's kind of like, you ever watch Family Feud?
Yes.
What drives me nuts about that show, and I like that show, I want to be on that show, is, and I think they purposely make the families do this. It doesn't matter how dumb and ridiculous your answer is. The rest of your family's like, good answer. Yeah, it's going to be up there. And you're like, no way in hell that's up there. That's the dumbest thing you could have said. If I was your family member, I'd be pissed at you. What are you, an idiot? And they have to, oh yeah, that was a good one. I can't believe it wasn't up there. Like, is that kind of the Dems nowadays? Is yeah, what they said. They're by that.
Much better at standing by their own idiocy instead of calling it out, for sure.
Yeah.
Jen says, good morning. Thanks for addressing such things, you two. Loving the conversation.
Thanks,
you're welcome.
Jen.
And Ronaldo says, gross. It was probably because I was not
you were heartless.
I was not sad that somebody left this planet that really wronged me. And
I thought you were going to say that really deserved it.
I didn't.
What I thought you were going to say.
Think I'm callous? I'm not callous.
Gross.
I wrote a song about how people profit off of war and the people that suffer for it. It's called Hats Off to the Central Banks. It's the story of a young couple who is expecting, but the man dies in a senseless war so that the hidden power can make a profit. The hidden powers. And you're talking to two conspiracy theorists, And central bank's a fun topic. And didn't we say we were going to do some conspiracy theories today? I
Yeah.
think we did. I'm not really prepared for it.
Me either.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I know I was supposed to Google something and I couldn't remember the name of it.
So we're probably going to kick that one down the road a little
Okay.
bit because I talk too much conspiracy and I don't want all of our, normal audience to think we're crazy or anything. So
I'm not crazy. My mother had me tested. It's a Sheldon Cooper quote,
okay.
which you still don't watch.
I do not watch.
It's a shame. You ever watch? I thought about this again this morning. I don't even know what brought it up in my brain, but Primal Fear. Have you seen that yet?
Oh, yeah.
You did see it with Richard Gere?
Yeah.
Did you watch it recently?
Yeah.
Okay.
How'd you know? Are you watching me?
No,
I just watched it.
Shut up. Are
I
you
did.
kidding?
No, I just watched it
When?
like 3 days ago.
Literally this morning as I'm getting ready. I have no idea what put it in my head. I don't remember the thought process that led to it. And I was thinking of that movie like, oh my God, Joe's got to watch this. I wonder if he's watched this yet.
It's one of my favorites. It's in my library.
Me too. Wasn't it so great?
So good.
So good. I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but if you have not watched Primal Fear, it's an older movie. It's like from the 90s. Richard Gere, Edward Norton. Please go watch Primal Fear.
Yeah, and I'm an Ed Norton fan, and there are certain roles that are played where the actor just like nails that. It's a hard role to play. Billy Bob Thornton did that in Sling Blade.
Yeah.
Edward Norton did that in Primal Fear, and it's classic, but it also, it's just such good acting.
Feel like no one else could do that.
No.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
not at all.
So do you think the fact that it popped in my head is somehow related to
Yeah.
the multiverse?
Yeah, you and I are connected. There's some connecting.
Our
tissue here.
wavelengths are syncing like, ooh. Pretty soon I'm going to like have to tell you something and instead of texting, I'm just going to put it in your brain.
Quantum entanglement.
What?
Quantum entanglement.
What's that?
On a quantum level, that there are certain things that have a connection to one another, and time and distance is not a factor between the two. Both can realize the same information at the same time, no matter how far away they are. In a quantum field, like I said,
Did you ever watch the show Quantum Leap?
yes.
Is it like that?
No,
That was
Quantum-
a good show.
It's a good show.
I miss I never saw the new Quantum Leap. I'm talking 90s Scott Bakula
Yeah.
Quantum Leap.
No, the original one was better.
Yeah,
but there's very little. I mean, there's some science in it. They did do a good bit, but we've learned so much about quantum sciences since then, and they could have played into real known stuff now than they were capable of back then. So Jen says, LOL, if you guys pick up the stone down the road, please let me know. I have to go to work. Cheers.
Yeah, the conspiracy theory. You said we were throwing it down the
yeah.
road.
I will, Jen. And thank you
Yeah.
for joining us, and have a good day.
Have a great
at work. Let's talk
day.
about the Unaffordable Care Act. I was the first to coin that term because it's so clever. No one else could
Do
have
you
come
think
to that.
you were?
I was totally. Well, from my perspective, I hadn't heard it before I used it, so I was.
So you're
first.
claiming it.
To
If it
me.
wasn't copyrighted,
No,
it's yours.
no, I have no intellectual property, no protections on that term. But I was the first in my zone to use that term.
In your world.
Yeah, because so clever, so
Unaffordable
unbelievably-
Care Act.
the Unaffordable Care Act. Okay, so let's talk about that. So we got till the 31st of December. So during COVID in 2021, they part of some of the bills for the American Rescue Plan, and there's a couple others. They added new subsidies that extended the requirements or the benefits of the Affordable Care Act. Everybody knows that the Affordable Care Act is a dead duck. It's always been a dead duck. It does nothing to actually lower costs except for take subsidies and tax credits and push them to the insurance company's bank accounts, right? So it made nothing cheaper. It just hid costs from the consumer and gave them benefits that they weren't paying for, somebody else was. So if you don't lower the cost of an infinitely growing, of magnitude growing cost, and then you shield the consumer from it, hide market forces, and then it goes up in cost, and then you add 8% inflation to the entire economy, and it goes up the cost, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now you are stuck subsidizing it forever because you did no things to bring down the actual cost, and you did everything to make it more costly and more unaffordable. So really, from a math perspective, if you want to do everything wrong, do the Obamacare whatever that act.
Yeah. Well, I was like Obamacare. Wasn't that at one point like it was illegal not to have it? Like you were required to have
made a
it?
requirement that everybody had to have insurance, almost like car insurance, that everybody had to participate. So you throw a bunch of customers in there, you subsidize it heavily, where the customers you throw in, they're almost paying nothing. And then people who are paying, then they are paying a bunch. And then you run out of that money. So you have to throw in taxpayer money to cap it off. And then the insurance companies are like, yeah, bring it. But Aetna was one of the first large insurance companies that bailed out of the marketplace, right? Because they were losing so much money on it. And the benefits were so severe that they just took themselves out. And then so everybody who picked Aetna then had to be shifted over to other providers. The marketplace got really small, right? And the cost got really big. And now we're stuck in this deadline of the 31st. Now, I don't know what politically they're going to do about it.
Yeah.
Chances are that if you go into midterms having healthcare be even more unaffordable as when Obamacare came in, they got to do something. And I figure that what they'll do is do a short-term extension of the credits, get costs go down for a couple of months, and let Congress, and they're planning on codifying a lot of Trump's plans in January anyhow. And so you got a couple of months, maybe 6 months to really start fixing this. But if I were in charge of it, like, I don't even know how you fix it. You fucked it up to a level that there's going to be no easy fixes whatsoever. Everything Trump wants to do is going to take multiple years, if not decades, to become fixed. Like if I rip money out of the system and started doing health savings accounts, I'd be able to take 10% of the people out of the marketplace, give them some of their own money, wouldn't cost them very much more. But those 10% is not going to fix it for the other 90%. They're still going to be in that same peril. So nothing wipes out the whole rule.
And anything you do, you would think it's going to be sort of that same idea of rip the Band-Aid, gonna hurt for a while so that we can eventually fix it.
You have to regulate an industry and insurance that shouldn't be even in this game completely. And so the goal of getting it out of the insurance companies and onto Medicare, right?
Yeah.
Or extending Medicare and Medicaid to take on that low level stuff, right? Then breaks social services and adds to the overall debt. There's no plan that I'm like, yeah, I hope he does that. Every plan I can think of is a non-answer, except for do the subsidies, increase taxes, and that's it.
Well, that doesn't sound good.
No.
So we're just screwed?
That is my theme song, right? We are just screwed. In every respect,
we're just screwed.
Nobody listened to Joe or any of the math people. And now you've done the thing that we said, and now it's happening the way that we said it would happen. And now you're in the position that I could have told you you were to be in. And if you get to that position, now it's kind of too late. And now you have to have socialized medicine. And that's Bernie's like, yes, break healthcare even more. So now, one of the, we'll do a little conspiracy theory.
Okay.
One of the themes is that when human beings really don't like to be told what to do and stuff forced on them. So one of the plans in New World Order is to make it so that the people are demanding that you unify all countries and governments. Because if you just throw a unified government at everybody, it will be rejected. But if you can make it the idea or the demand of the people, then it'll be universally accepted, because the government didn't do that. They didn't want to do it. They were like, oh, let's not do that.
Make it think it was their idea.
Exactly. That's really what it is. So if we can get that, people are like, hey, healthcare is so screwed up. It's $50,000 a year for health coverage. Give me Medicaid. And then all the politicians are like, oh, yeah, we don't want to do this, but we're going to do it because you've demanded it. And now we have socialized medicine, at least on the lowest tier.
I don't even know how to add to that. And if we did sort of like you said, just go to self-pay, use what you need, don't use it if you don't, then that affects what? People that are poor, that can't pay anything? Like, why? What are the downsides of, like you said, make it like businesses that have to compete. hey, what are your prices if I
Well,
have
it's
a cool...
never that part. You can solve the equation of a transaction. I have money. I'm going to pay you for a service. That's in there, right?
Yeah.
But the minute that I opt out, it's not me that's injured. It's everyone who won't or can't opt out of it. What do you do with them? Okay, it's almost like
when you opt out, meaning you as a consumer.
Once I'm not part of the insurance system, I'm just buying a service from a vendor, a doctor directly. I'm not in an insurance system. I don't even have insurance, right?
Yeah.
So when I opt out, that means I'm not paying into it. So let's Social Security, the pyramid scheme, right? How it works is you have a bunch of people that are paying into a system, and that money is going out the door to recipients. And as long as there are more people paying in than taking out, then the system works.
Mm-hmm.
But in the future, let's just say people have less kids, or people go into direct pensions where they're outside the system. Now you have more recipients than you do people paying in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I give people that my kid the chance to opt out of Social Security, that means he's going to be taking care of himself, but he's not going to be paying in to the pyramid scheme that goes out the door to the people who are recipients. It's not their money that's being paid out. It's being paid out by people entering the system right now. If that math ever skews where there's more beneficiaries than payers, then there's not enough money coming in. It'll have to come from the taxpayer. Very similar in insurance. If you give people the chance to not be part of the insurance system, they need those dollars to pay out the recipients. I need to pay $30,000 in premiums, not use $30,000. So part of that goes to a person that's only paying or has paid in, is barely paying in anything right now, but using $30,000 worth of services. It's the same math that's getting skewed.
So I must have got lost somewhere. Why can't we just make it like, we all know if you go to a doctor's office and you're uninsured and you're like, yeah, I'm a cash patient, I'm just going to pay you. And then and maybe sometimes there's even a discount offered for that. And somebody else comes in and they're like, oh, I have the same issue, I'm going to pay you that too. No, you have insurance, you have to pay this.
Right.
Well, I might as well get rid of that and just pay you. Like, it's just a business transaction. You can call around, you can shop. Hey, I have a cold.
Right. But that's solving only a portion of the problem. The people who are not going to do that, they're already in the later stages of their life. They've been paying insurance premiums their entire life. They don't make a lot of money, so they're not paying a bunch of premiums, right?
So you're saying they wouldn't do that because they're at the end of their life having already paid that now they need what everybody was paying into.
Exactly. They need
They're like, I'm retired, I'm not working, I'm whatever.
You're a safe driver and you're very valuable to the insurance company because you pay into a system trying not to have something. Well, your money is needed to pay for someone who collects $100,000 out of a system that they only paid $20,000 into. Where's that other $80,000 come from? The safe drivers who paid it and it evaporated and went to pay for the people who use more of those services. But so if you let more people opt out of a system that needs every dollar to come through there in order to pay for the higher costs of unhealthy people that, use more services than they'll ever pay into it. That's where the system breaks down.
So like if you are disabled or elderly or for whatever reason have this condition that you're like, I'm not able to pay, it's got to come from somewhere.
Exactly. And it comes right now from people who won't use services. And as long as there's more of them to pay that out, I think it's still in Social Security. I think it's 2-1. It was like 10-1 at one period of time. For every payer into it, there was only like one beneficiary that was collecting on it. So you can build up a nice reserves. The problem was that once you had that big pile of cash of 10-1 people paying into it, the Congress was like, can we do something with that money? And they used that money and paid for other services. So that big pile of cash went to nothing. And now when it's reversed, instead of paying beneficiaries 2-1, when there's more money outgoing, which there will be in, I think, 10 years from now, that there's not that pile of cash to go to. It's going to come directly from taxpayers and paying back the bonds of that money that was borrowed. And that's, again, terrible math. But it's broken in the same way as insurance providers. If you asked insurance companies if they wanted to bail out of the whole health insurance thing, I think a number of them would. But we're so far into the game, all you're going to do is take a portion of the public that trusted that if they did that they would get some kind of benefit and pull the rug out underneath them, and they can't do it. So we're all of the math planning. If I were really in control, here's what I would do. I would bite the bullet, make my estimates, right? And you're going to austerity the shit out of this. You're going to convert as many people outside of the insurance system to do direct pay with stuff. Hope to get 50% of the people that don't even have freaking insurance, and know when they leave, their money's going to leave with them, and you're going to have to backfill that in with taxpayer money. But you're not creating any new problems for 40 years from now, right? Because they're out of the system. You're going to have those slanted math. They're going to be gone. And then you extend Medicare and Medicaid to do base level healthcare, right? That's the only thing that it pays for, base level healthcare, and more like the Canadian system where it's rationed. It doesn't happen. It's not, go in there and everybody pays. It's rationed. You get one, well visit per year. You get a couple emergency services, and then you're capped off. No longer.
So, like if you have to have a surgery or something, that could be in there. Or
unfortunately, but yes, and just know you're going to have to deal with those costs for the next 30 years until those people die off, and you can get people who are doing direct pays to providers, on their own, and use taxpayer money, knowing that it's there already, and there's not much you can do about it except for bite the bullet and pay the rest of that consequence throughout, but limit your downside and your exposure by rationing it. And if at the same time, you got Make America Healthy Again that makes more healthy people, then it's a less tax on the system. So spend maybe 50% of your revenue or your budget on health and human services to make people healthier, right? To make a bigger upside where less people will use those systems, and make 50% buying your way out of a bad decision, bad mathematical decision on making insurance responsible. And employers, like, think about if employers didn't have to pay half the freight or the full freight, how much more money would be in operations and growing businesses and expanding and hiring people. Like, an economic boom would happen.
Well, I've often in the past wondered, like, when someone's job hunting and let's say there's a position and they're like, well, here's the salary. And maybe you're like, oh, I wish it was more. Well, what you lack in salary, though, we give you all these health benefits, and you can go to the doctor and have all this great health care. And it's like, but what if I only go to the doctor a couple times a year? Can you just give me my money? Like, that's great if I had a lot of issues, but I don't. So can you just give me that money instead of it being there in case you know what I mean? Like,
well, it started out with great intentions. Healthcare benefits were, you had two warring industries, two factories, right? And they're both paying the same amount of money. And one factory was like, well, I need to be a better deal than the factory across the street. I got to compete with them. I got to give them something else. And then it came to be an expected thing. And now it's not a competition, right, of who can give you the most benefits to attract you to come to my factory when I need you more than the other person. And then we've just slanted it so employers pay so much of the way on it, even with, payroll taxes, paying a portion of an employee's taxes for them. Like, that's not fair. Paying their health care like as an expected thing. Like, if I had two computer companies and I needed employees and I want them to pick me, I should be able to easily opt out and say that's not even a benefit that I offer, and be able to do it without, the rest of society looking at you like, how dare you? Like, that's a right of mine to have health care.
Because I feel like it ultimately can sort of, it sounds like a benefit to employees, but is it?
No, it's only a benefit if it's not an expected thing.
Yeah, like, again, I've heard people say, oh, I got to get a job that has good benefits. They've got to be able to pay this. And I want to say, well, can't you just get more money in your paycheck and you save it on your own?
100%. Then, and that's the personal responsibility thing. If you had to write those checks to the doctors and your budget item was high and you can do things to make it lower, that's on you. You can go to the gym so you don't have to use your money so much to pay for a service. But if somebody else is paying the whole thing, then you're not worried about your weight and your exercise and your behaviors because somebody else is paying for it. You're not going to care.
What's the difference between I have less money that I'm getting paid, but it's going to this health insurance that I may or may not use, or I don't have that, I have more money, and I decide what I want to put aside for my health. Right. Like, if I know, hey, we've got this issue, it could be a medical issue down the road, and there may be some more testing and doctor's visits. Okay, then I save it. And now it's gone, just like it would be gone if it was a benefit from the employer.
Yeah, because
but what if I don't?
Realistically, you are covering an assured cost that you can make different decisions to make cost more or cost less. So we use a car for it. We'll use car insurance because this actually we have good actuary data where you can look at it and say, okay, so if you have a $10,000 car, right, and your car insurance for just liability. So if you hit somebody else, you're covering them in case you do damage to them, but you're not covering anything on your end, right?
Yeah.
So it costs you $100 a month for liability. Full coverage, meaning that I'll cover you and I'll cover my car, is $400. So you're going to pay $300 more on something. One, you're going to do the liability. One, you're only doing your liability. One, you're fully covered where something bad happens and they cover everything through insurance. Now, at $300 difference per month, if you put that in a bank account, right, $300 a month times 12 months is $3,600.
Yeah.
And on your sheet, I just hope nothing bad happens to my stuff for 3 years before I could just buy my own car. So if you take the typical thing and ask people how many accidents they are in their lifetime, I would say 2, right? 2 accidents that wipe out a car or do enough damage to cost a bunch. And if you multiply what the
unless you're a terrible driver,
but then that's on you.
Yeah.
And then you get to figure out.
Don't be a terrible driver.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So in the course of 10 years, you've paid $36,000 in extra premiums, and you might not have had an accident because you did certain things. You weren't in a high risk category. Maybe you drove safely and didn't do speeding tickets and whatever. So if you were to say, hey, do you want to just keep your $36,000 over that 10 years? And if you get a bad accident, you just throw your car away and buy a new one? Or do you want to get to an insurance company and have them do an adjuster and they make the payments on it? Well, if you're terrible.
And then your payments go up from there on too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's again, if you have the data on health and what health really costs you, if you're in the I'm paying too much category, and if I just kept my money, I could just cover that on my own, or you're on the, oh shit, I'm glad that dude's paying more than he needs to so that they can cover me for all of my actions and everything that happens to me with my health.
Yeah.
And don't use the exception of people that, something visits them that was totally out of their control because they are the minority. We have unhealthy standards that we make ourselves sick and diseased here in this country. And if you're responsible for the costs of your actions, that you'd eat less cheeseburgers, exercise more, and whatnot. Don't give me that BS.
And give to those that you think you want to give to. Like, look at St. Jude Hospital. Are they not funded entirely through donations, or do they have things like grants and government assistance, or is it just...
I don't want to talk shit about St. Jude, so I'm going to stay out of this.
Oh, no. Have I been living in a delusion?
You did it for the best reasons. I'm not gonna lay anything on you. You keep doing what makes you feel good. I'm sure some people are helped, but yeah, keep doing it.
Okay, we're going to revisit that
Any
at some point.
kind of child, pediatric, that giving is always going to be good, because even if there's some inefficiencies or clusters in those kind of organizations, people do get helped. So don't withhold.
Yeah,
don't get withheld.
I knew someone who used St. Jude and really liked it.
St. Jude's great.
All right, anywho, but I do remember years ago, I took a job, and I remember the employer saying it could be this salary plus benefits, or if you don't need it, I was like, I don't need it at the time. My husband's active duty military. I have benefits through him. I don't need that. Okay, well, then we won't offer you that, and we'll just make you pay this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, great.
Yeah. So the point was getting employers out of the whole insurance sales, because that's just an easy sale for an insurance company. They need to fight hard for your business by offering you benefits that they're able to provide you. And if not, self-insure, where you're just saving up your own money and buying your own car if it, were to get, devastated. Don't give extra money to insurance companies, because their job is to make money. You do not want them at the levers of your health or your car or anything like that. I buy insurances all the time, right? And I know what I'm buying for. If I have an event, right, I can spend $100 on covering a liability that's very unlikely to happen. And then I can be a partner in that, where I can make that as less likely as I possibly can. And even if I can't, or if I've done everything that I can and it still ends up happening, then worst case is covered, so that I'm not destroyed because of something unlikely that happens.
How do you feel about people that sell like gap insurance? You know,
Stupidity.
I was very recently approached by some salespeople, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm good. I've got some health benefits and things of that nature. And oh, but this is gap, so that if you're hurt and you can't work and you need more than this and blah blah blah, then you can pay into that. And I'm just like, oh, I wish Joe were here.
Yeah,
I wonder what he would say.
It's feeding into a debt industry, and that's why I don't believe in it. Is, you know, should somebody buy a $70,000 truck that they're going to have a payment for a really long time on, and if something bad happens, that there's going to be a gap of depreciation between what it's worth and what, you know, value that you have. And if in this case, like if your insurance company covers $30,000 and you got to buy a new one, then there's a separation between what you could actually buy it for and what you know, the insurance company cut a check for. Now, even another insurance to cover another value.
Yeah.
I just think people pay too much in insurance to companies that don't give two shits about.
Yeah.
Go ahead and try to explain what insurance is to like a 10-year-old, and all their reactions, right, are the truth that is in that.
It's funny, this salesperson, and I don't even remember how he tried to word this. It was something like, oh yeah, and if you don't use it for that, you know, go on vacation. You could go to an island on vacation on our money. And I was like, on your money? You think that I think you're going to just give me money to go on vacation? Like, get out of here.
Yeah.
Oh,
insurance
it's
on top of
infuriating.
insurance on top of insurance. So
Yeah.
it's a game. It's a game.
Brian says, was that the plan all along? Single payer, socialized medicine, and this was the way for the DNC to force it down our throats? The affordable part of the ACA was just the bait and switch to the public.
100%. I said that on day one. I said this has all the brokenness that's going to happen. 100% chance it's going to break. And when it's broken, you're going to have enough people who became dependent on it that we're going to have to shift them into socialized medicine light. And that's going to be the introduction. And because it's going to become necessary. They set the field so that this would happen, so that socialized medicine was the only answer.
Yeah, he says the only thing that made healthcare affordable in the ACA was the government subsidies.
Yep. And that's not affordability. That's just hiding costs from you and making somebody else carry the tab. And
yeah. So shisty. Who shizes?
Shiza.
Joseph says, good morning.
Good morning, Joseph.
If I'm under the age of 27, I should deny all insurance from my job and remain on my parents? ?
If you're under 27, so So yeah, if you can stay on your parents' insurance for as long as you possibly can and not take that expense on yourself, I would absolutely do it. I would recommend everybody.
It's usually till like what, 25?
Yeah, I think that was lowered. I think it's only 24, 25 maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah, as long as you possibly can, so that you don't have to, because it's jacked up right now, and I would not want you to wade in the insurance waters and have to experience like, you know, quarter of your paycheck. And it's not even good insurance. If you're paying $30,000 to be insured on health and you had a $6,000 deductible, that means every year you're paying $30,000 out. And then if something happens, you have to pay another $6,000 before any insurance would kick in.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. I don't think I've had $6,000 in medical expenses in the history of my life, let alone in 1 year.
I can remember a time, little like fresh out of college, 20-something-year-old young Kelin, just got my first full-time job. And I remember talking with my boss at the time. I don't think they offered benefits, or maybe I didn't qualify for them yet or whatever. And I was paying for something on my own. It was like a Blue Cross Blue Shield something or other. And he and I were in a conversation one time about saving money. I was trying to move out. I was trying to get my own place, be on my own. I just didn't make a lot. How can I make this work? And I remember him saying, do you really need that? Do you really need to spend this money on health insurance? And I was like, but what if something happens? What if I'm in an accident? Yes, I do. That's my lifeline.
Well, and the thing is, and that's reasonable. Okay. But it's more like when you go to an electronics store, right? And you ever buy like a $50 thing in an electronics store, and they're like, for $5, do you want to buy the insurance on this thing? And you're like, this is a pencil sharpener, right?
Yeah.
Never in my life did I think that if that thing ever broke, that I would be so on the edge of financial devastation that if I'm so lucky that I had that $5 insurance that would replace my pencil sharpener. And that makes sense. So what should you, if you wouldn't do a pencil sharpener, there is a product on that shelf that you can picture yourself saying, yes, I'm so glad that I paid for that. Now it's everything in the middle, the replaceable stuff that doesn't cause destitution, that when you add up all of those, oh shit, I covered myself, and you add up all the money that you spent based on that fear, that you could have bought 97 of that thing if you'd have just kept the money yourself.
So like if the fear came to fruition, you could have afforded it.
Yeah, right. But you gave all that fear money to an insurance company, right?
Yeah.
Thinking that you were covering your anxieties about that thing breaking. And isn't it easier just to take the money that you set aside and go buy the new one when that thing breaks?
Do people just, I mean, is it still worth it for big stuff? Like if I gave insurance company X amount of dollars every month, and then God forbid something happened, I needed a major medical procedure that was extremely expensive. Would the money I gave to this insurance company over time equal the cost of that procedure, whereas I could have held on to it and paid it? Or does that procedure still exceed what I've already paid and they do need to pay it for me? And I don't know.
Well, it's just math. So you can look at the statistics, right? Just like we did how often somebody does an accident. Let's just say the published statistics are that normal, regular, middle of the line people get into accidents in their lifetime. Then all you do is divide it and find what you're paying to cover you from that thing happening. And it's a good deal if you're paying into it and the payoff is bigger than what you've paid in on it.
Right.
But no insurance company is going to make that offer to you.
Yeah, because if you end up using it, what happens? Your rates go up.
Yeah, right.
So now you're paying more because they're like, oh, you may actually need this.
So that's why it means to starve insurance companies of the frivolous insurance policies. Covering you from things that are certainly going to happen is not a good bet unless you can do two things. Number one, every time this is my Obama impression. What we're going to do is we're going to mandate. We're going to do a lot of mandating. And when you go to an electronics store, we're requiring you to buy the insurance. You have to buy the insurance. And I get a lot of people who are not buying insurance, the ability to buy insurance by making you and make it mandatory that you buy insurance, right? And then, you know how like my pencil sharpener was only $5? Do you know why it's at $5?
Because that's all it's worth.
Nobody would buy it if it were over. They have to compete based on price, that they looked at a statistic and said, I'll spend $5, even if it's like,
so if it were $25, you wouldn't buy it,
right?
Yeah.
So they competed for that, yes, because it was something that people relatively easily say no to, right?
Yeah.
But if it was mandatory that you had to buy an insurance policy, do you think it would be at $5? No. What if you had somebody else paying for your deal? You're going to get the insurance because it's mandatory, and it's not going to cost $5. It's going to cost $30, and somebody else is going to pay for it. There's no incentive for an insurance company to bring costs in line. And here's what we're going to do. Before it was, I called the insurance company, they put me in a database, and it was me dealing with them. But I'm not allowed to deal directly with the insurance company. I have to go through a broker, and that broker has to go through another broker, and that broker has to go through there. Every time you buy and sell, my requirement to buy my insurance policy on my pencil sharpener, there has to be money being paid. So it might only cost $60 to insure a $50 pencil sharpener, but each one of those brokers got a little bit of a $10 deal. So it might have only cost $5 on the liability, but there were $40 worth of markups that happened as it traveled up its way between the complicated system of those brokers.
Yeah, because everybody got to get paid.
That's exactly right. But that's absurd, right? But if you took my numbers proportionally and you apply them to health insurance, it's the same effing thing.
That's why I'm like, instead of paying you and you and you and you so that I could go see this doctor, can I just pay the doctor? Why do I got to have all these middlemen?
That's exactly right. Because each one costs more money and there's pay. Like, think about all the advertising spending that's happening with insurance companies.
Yeah,
How many politicians,
you're paying for
how
marketing.
many political campaigns have been funded by insurance companies, right? So anyway, Brian says if those providing healthcare, hospitals, etc., weren't in on the scam, as well as things would be more affordable overall. My father was in the hospital for 9 days in June. Total cost was $61,000. Wow. Yep, and it was paid for. That's our problem right there. If somebody would come to you for an invoice, you were like, hey Joe, do you got a Tylenol? And I'm like, here's a Tylenol. It's going to be $20. You would say, I'm not fucking paying that.
Yeah.
I'm going to shop around, and I bet you I find somebody who's competing with you for your Tylenol sales that's going to charge me for less than that, right?
Yeah.
You're going to guy down the street asking $1 for it. That's who's going to get your business.
Yeah. Have you ever seen like a Band-Aid on a medical bill?
Yeah.
You're like, I'll bring my own Band-Aid.
It's because
thanks.
they can. There's no challenge to it. They can just perpetually increase it.
I remember when I had a baby, before I could leave the hospital, it was required. I had to get the flu shot. I had to. You didn't have a choice. And I wonder how much that freaking costs.
Mm-hmm.
If I want the flu shot, I'd go get it for free at like a Walgreens or something.
It's not free.
Well, you know what I mean.
Taxpayers made that possible. Oh, and I bet you that it's not as cheap as if you bought it directly. I bet you as a taxpayer, you probably paid $40 for something that should cost $10. Thank you for being part of the problem. Penny says, Medicare for all could be so easy, single payer. Listen, I know that seems like the proper response, and I do predict that's what we'll end up with, and you do not want that. You do not want expanded Medicare for all.
Medicare
You
for
don't.
all.
You do not. I know you think you want it. You do not want it.
She said, what's the lesser of two evils, bureaucrat government workers or profit motive insurance companies?
Well, I don't consider any of those corporate type of regulations and corporate type of policies to be fair market, free market, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they would never be able to exist without special deals. So if you took true marketplace, free market ideals and applied them to hospitals, it would be significantly worse in certain ways, but significantly better in all the ways that matter. So it's like you can take a shot and take any industry that is highly regulated, like universities, right? Highly regulated. They would not get the number of customers that they do if they had to just go out to the marketplace and get them. They need regulators and societal norms to have a free flow shoot right into their tuition office, right? Without that, they would not be able to make it. And we like our academic institutions, so we justify giving them a special thing when I could start up Joe's University down on the corner, right? I could put professors in there. I could stay out of all of the systems that take people and put them right into my front door. I'm not part of any of those systems. I got to run marketing on TV. I got to tell students that we're higher. I bet you I do worse than those people, but it would be the truest version of what a university is supposed to be, because I have to compete. You're allowed to tell me no. I get no free regulations, no special treatment, no special laws and requirements, no special funding. That's a true market force that would apply to me that doesn't apply to them. And you can say the same thing out of a special deal insurance company, a special deal pharmaceutical company, special deal automaker. Anytime you incentivize or subsidize, you're giving them free money to do something they otherwise wouldn't do. And I don't mind it in small spurts. So the ag one is probably the best example. So let's just say, corn or ethanol has big market value. So every farmer in our area is like, well, I can get the most amount of money for corn by throwing it on a boat and sending it over to a country that can't do corn as well as we can and give me a premium for it. And then you walk around your community and it's like, hey, you know what? There's a lot of farmers markets that aren't getting any kind of thing because that corn is going directly out. It's not benefiting anybody in the community. So what I want to do is I'm going to take the difference. Let's just say you can plant potatoes and everybody likes potatoes here. Mm-hmm. You get $6 for potatoes and $10 for ethanol. I'm going to give you a subsidy. The difference between what the market would give you, the international market would give you for that corn, and I'm going to make you whole so that if you sell potatoes in your local economy, that's better for the economy because now you're hiring people local, you're giving products that end up on shelves. It's going to cost the taxpayers $4 extra that I'm just giving to as a farm to do something you otherwise wouldn't do. But I'm going to have to justify it and say, listen, there's $1 million worth of economic impact if I spend, $400,000 worth of subsidies. And as soon as it skews where I'm not making the economic impact, it's not worthwhile taking taxpayer dollars. So I'm going to sunset it as soon as the benefit is worse than the subsidy, it goes away, and make it expire after a certain amount of time. Like, the tariffs that Trump floated destroyed farms. That was a boneheaded political thing. I know why he did it. It ill-affected industries here. And if you don't want to chop the knees off, we're going to say, here, we're going to change the rules up on you. It's going to hurt you in the short term. For a year, we're going to give you some subsidies. Figure out your farm. Figure out how to make it on your own. We're going to cover you for a year, but figure it out on your own. So that's my, I don't like subsidies at all, but when we have to do them, they have to be controlled by explaining how we're getting a benefit from spending money.
Make sense.
Yes.
And when it no longer makes sense, it's done. It's temporary.
Exactly right.
But that's the thing is like, even if you go into it that way, explaining this is temporary because it's a need right now, but it won't always be, the moment you say, all right, it's no longer a need, we got to cut it off. Nope, here comes the other side talking about how much of a bad guy you are.
That's why you shouldn't do it in the first place. That's why I'm against subsidies. And I'm only holding my nose when we do them, because there's no way that the people that are telling you that economic gain aren't going to fabricate numbers to make it feel like it's better than it actually is. So I'm not going to believe them when they make their justification anyway. And then when I take it away, like you said, the people that are going to be ill affected by taking it away are now going to be mad. So just don't do them in the first place and say, hey, we're doing free market stuff here. We're not giving any special anything to anybody. You guys figure it out. Use your big brains, use the ability, but we're not going to reward that person, right?
Yeah.
At the detriment of the person that doesn't get rewarded.
We're not going to set something up that will so easily become corrupt.
Right. Yeah. Even the DEI stuff. The DEI stuff was, we haven't even felt what DEI did for our entire economy. Right.
Yeah.
I was just the other day, we're looking through grants for my kid going to college. Right. And we're looking at grants that were assigned and scholarships that were assigned. I said, one thing's working against you, dude. You're a white male. Right. And so it's not, scholarships and grants are not about academic, prowess.
Yeah.
It's about who you are. Right. So best intentions, let's take 90% of all the grants and scholarships and award them to people that this group of people and exclude all other people. So now what have we done? We have given advantage to a group, almost like giving advantage to agriculture, giving a grant, advantage to insurance companies and pharmaceutical companies. And now if I start a business, right, I'm at a disadvantage when I'm competing against other people who are getting free money, don't even have to try hard, right? As hard as I do. And I might go out of business having done it the right way. They're still in business and the whole thing was AstroTurf. That sickens me. That in the best of intentions, we create a subsidy that tries to do one thing and it ends up hurting the whole marketplace.
If you try to get into a business, and I don't mean you personally, I mean a person is trying to make it in a culture, in a business. And that business is run by, let's say, a particular kind of minority, whatever that is. But then so much of that minority is in that realm that you coming in, you're actually the minority because the group is typically this, what have you. Do you think they say, oh, you're a minority, let's go ahead and give you a leg up now? Or do they just go off of
that's what I said.
What qualified as a minority?
When you have fairness and you have justice, nobody is treated any different. And it is discriminatory no matter what it is. So if we had the 4 big major auto manufacturers, do you remember they all got in trouble, like financially in trouble?
With the bailouts and stuff?
Yeah, do you remember that?
Sort of.
Okay. Well, there's one of those 4 that made all good decisions and they weren't in financial trouble. Ford. They figured it out. They set up their product lines appropriately. They produced only what they could sell, and they made it. And they watched their competitors who they're like, well, here's what's going to happen. We're solvent. We made all good decisions. All these other companies, what they're going to do is they're going to be in a struggle in the future because they're making all bad decisions. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to buy our competition. We're going to be able to buy vendors. We're going to be able to buy customers. This is going to be awesome for Ford. And then you watch the government like, nope, your competition didn't do anything right, but here's some money. And then Ford's like, what the hell? Like, I did everything right. You helped my competitors. Now there's nothing to buy because you just made them whole.
Yeah.
I lose by doing the right thing.
It's the so common stereotypical of I worked hard, they didn't. I sacrificed, they didn't. And when they got in trouble, you gave them mine.
Don't give benefits to people, even if you really feel for them. Don't feed the animals. It feels good to feed them, but when they create a dependence on it, now you're necessary forever, and they're no longer a beast of the wild. They're your dependent.
The group project.
That's exactly right. But
tell your son in college you're going to have to do a group project.
All of the criticisms, they're real. We already did those things. So it's not like we can get in our time machine and not do them. We're stuck right in the middle of that.
Yeah.
So if you have, how many grannies who, were barely making it before, you change the rules on them where they had a benefit that you're going to take it away from them. How many of them are crying on TV before the rest of us are like, okay, we did the wrong thing, but let's keep doing it because Granny. You don't want to hurt Granny.
No. Brian says, we were on the hook for about 3,000 of that. If you look closely at the invoices and see how much things are marked down due to insurance coverage.
Yeah. And, in a doctor's office, I mean, it's not a coincidence that you walk into a doctor's office and the first thing that they want to know is if you have insurance. That's their first question. You could be hemorrhaging out of your neck. And like, excuse me, sir, can you cover that for me? Do you have insurance? Can I get your insurance card? Right?
Yeah.
And you might have a first floor have like 6 doctors, and the second floor is their insurance floor. They might have 20 people over there that are looking through cost of coverages and lining up the practice on the floor below with what insurance companies will cover. And so let's just say, in the rest of the business called loss leaders, it's things that you have to do that take a lot of time and you're barely getting compensated. Right.
Yeah.
But then there's other stuff that while you're there, you can get a blood test and you got like 50% margin. So then they're like, hey guys, down here, we lost a whole lot of money on the actual physical, but make sure you sell them some of this other extra stuff because I can bill the insurance company this. And then they do that and they take advantage of the highest markup that they can get where they negotiate to a certain price and then they can get paid on their loss leaders and their regular stuff.
Yeah.
But then that costs the insurance company more money and then they have to raise their premiums even more. So that's negative feedback loop, keeping costs going, escalating constantly because there's no pressure that pushes it down in value. It's an infinite loop of exponential growth and services that are being asked to. So what's a pressure that pushes that down? Just invent one. What's a pressure that if you had a lemonade stand out there and you said free, right?
Yeah.
And a bunch of people were showing up for your free lemonade, right? What could you do to limit the demand on your lemonade?
You could say one per person,
right?
Yeah.
So you put a cap on it so that even if it's exploited, they can't be exploited the full way.
Yeah.
So maybe in a doctor's office, you only get one upsell per customer. You can't.
That's nice. Did BJ do that?
BJ did that. No, who did that?
We just got a Christmas background.
BJ's not even on.
Did Facebook do that?
Listen, I'm going to change that because that is way too holidayish.
We were festive. We had a Christmas background.
No, I'm not feeling festive.
For 5 seconds, I liked it.
We blame BJ for that, and BJ was not even involved. Okay, we're back to normal.
I was going to thank BJ for that.
No, that just happened. Okay, let's keep going.
It's just the ghosts of Christmas present did it. But it's interesting. The last time I was in an ER, as you're like sitting in your little like bay area waiting to hear from the doctor, they wheel a card over and they start talking about payment. And they're like, well, you're estimated to pay about this, but if you pay it today, you only have to pay this. And I'm like, then why isn't it just that? Like, if I pay it now, it's less. If I wait and you have to bill me, it's more.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously you can make this less.
Right.
It's a business.
Let's see. The system is crashing. ACA combines free market and regulations, and you hate that? No, it doesn't. It's pseudo free market. Hidden costs, hidden bureaucracy, hidden subsidies, hiding the entire process from the end consumer, making it unlimited and not capped. It's a mess in every. And if it were free market, like I watch free market medical happening in front of me. Somebody who's like, I have a doctor's office and I don't accept insurance, and a person that needs their services walk in there and they transact, they give them money and the services are rendered. Mm-hmm. Insurance companies, that is a free market. Those doctors have to market to people a certain subsect, and you might not have anybody show up that day. Versus insurance, like you have insurance and you go through your list of providers, and my provider's on the list and I go to them because someone else is paying. Like there's a chute that goes right down to them. There's no free market in health insurance. Yes, that's called democratic socialism. Regulation corrects, but complicated. What's better if you don't have a complicated system that needs regulated, and make the free market do its own pressures on both the sell and the demand and the buy. True market forces do not work. That's how we have such wealth in it. Wealth inequality does not exist in this country. The idea is noble, but doesn't work. It does work. You do get concentrations of wealth. That is what the free market does. But if everybody on the board has an equal opportunity, that is the opposite of the definition of inequality. It's only unequal when you start changing the rules to benefit the players that are already in the game.
Yeah.
Like, would you get in the healthcare industry right now? Let's just say you were a really good actuary and you want to have Kelin's insurance thing. Could you even get involved? No, the players have rigged the game so that you couldn't even do it if you wanted to. We had a business idea to open a school, right? And so you had public schools, and taxpayers pay into a system, and they get a set amount of money for each pupil, and they have regulations about how many teachers per kid, of ratios of teacher to students, mm-hmm. and aides and administrators, and all these rules for the public schools. So Joe wanted to open a school. Do you think that the rules of Joe opening a competing school against the public school, number one, do you think I got the same amount of per pupil state funding?
No.
About a third. Oh. My ratios were higher. Where a public school, you could have 1 to 24. I had to do a 1 to 10. So I had to hire more people with less tuition that was coming from. So these rules, what they do is they make it so they don't want competing factors with public schools. You can make your guesses as to why that is, right?
Yeah.
More competition means public schools lose. They lose incoming money. So they want to give the disadvantage to the person that's threatening the status quo of the public schools. You multiply that in pharmaceuticals and insurance, it's the same game that's being played. New guy coming in that would compete, huge disadvantage. They don't get the same payouts and benefits that the market offers because the market has been shifted to benefit the current players, right? Mm-hmm. And then keep other people from participating and competing.
Can we, for just a sec, go back to wealth inequality doesn't exist?
Yes, wealth inequality.
Let's talk about that. Yes. Why do some people think wealth inequality exists and others do not?
Well, they take disparities in value, right? You take an Elon Musk and you take whatever. Bring up a statistic and says the top 10 people of total wealth, right, have more wealth than the bottom 90% of people. That is a distance between those. That's a disparity, but it's not inequality.
Yeah. It's not like a rigged system, you mean?
Yeah, because anybody from the bottom 9 is allowed to participate in the same things that the people at the top are participating. So if you let's just take a sample person, Bob Smith, and we'll take Elon Musk, right? Uh-huh. And it would only be inequality if they were doing and sacrificing the same things, right? They had the same history. They had the same education. They took the same amount of risks. They tried and failed the same amount of times. Now you have two people. You're like, oh, they did the exact same things. Those two things are unequal. Mm-hmm. Now, if one person wants what the other person have and they didn't do any of the other things, that is a disparity. And it should teach the underlying thing. if you look at someone who runs a marathon, you're going to be sad that you can't run a marathon. Go do everything that they do, and you will run marathons too. But no, I don't want to get up early, and I don't want to eat certain things, and I want to take my TV time and sacrifice it on the treadmill.
I don't want to go in and shadow anyone.
But I do want to run the marathon.
Yeah.
That's not an inequality, right? That's an inequality of outcome.
So if someone's like, I got up early every day, and I worked towards this. I networked with the people doing it. I learned under them. I gave my free time to go and do things for free so that I could get more experience. And if you did none of those things and you just said, oh, must be nice to have that, it's not an equality.
And that's where socialism breaks down, because it takes words that's supposed to mean something, and it basically sabotages the meaning of that word. And then it takes the person who says that makes you mad. When you say there's wealth inequality or women make less money than a man, it feels like that's an injustice, and we need to fix that. Yeah. But then you look at everything, and they're so different. You're taking two things like that aren't even connected, aren't even correlated, and saying something they have is something that I want, and I don't have it, and I'm mad about it, so I'm going to try to take it from them, and here's my justification for taking it from them. There's no justice in that.
Interesting.
What about subsidizing? Our farmers who were impacted with tariffs, they all voted for tariffs, and now once again have to subsidize them. Yeah, not a fan of subsidizing at all. If you, I feel like if you're going to make a move on tariffs, that it needs to be slow and proportional, so that your industry could, let's just say you followed all the rules that you were given to a T. Someone comes along after you're set up and changes the rules on you. Whose responsibility is it? You did all the right things, and I changed the rules on you. Is it your fault, or is it my fault?
If I did all the right things and you changed the rules, you.
All right. I'd feel an obligation that I'd at least make you a little bit whole. That's just if I had a direct relationship with you, I'd want you to deal with me again. And that was wrong of me to change the rules. I might have had to do them, but it still doesn't help you. Right.
Yeah.
And so, I think there is some obligation. Maybe it was necessary. Maybe it wasn't. I would have done it different if I were in Trump's shoes, but he didn't. And so he's paying the consequence by having to take subsidy taxpayer money, give it to farmers who didn't earn it, and bail them out of a short term. Maybe in the future, when they're uber prosperous, they'll pay that money back. Like the auto manufacturers were a little bit different of a deal, because that was mostly loans. They made them a loan to get them by, and then they paid back those loans. Well, I have a feeling agriculture is not going to get to a profitable level when we're insulated from competition with incoming agriculture. When they're making millions of dollars and the government gave them millions of dollars, they're going to feel an obligation to then give that money back to satisfy the next guy. See, when I picture the marketplace, yes, you can help people who in the future will then help you back, and then you have a cooperation. When it's a relationship where you're fighting, right? You're going to take what you can get when you can get it, and you're going to try to shaft the other person when it's their time to, pay it back.
Yeah.
Yes, and what you were describing is called democratic socialism. The government steps in temporarily to regulate. But the democratic socialism never effing goes away.
I would say temporary.
That's the key word. If you could prove to me,
if
you could prove to me that I'll pay your rent for 1 month, that I'm never going to have to pay your rent again, and it gives you a chance to get in your feet, I will pay taxes all day.
Yeah.
If all it meant was that I was helping the people that you promised me would be helped.
Yeah.
And it was short-term and temporary. But if you're just looking to get more Democrat voters by giving them free giveaways, and they'll be voters for you forever, and they never go away, that's not.
If someone fell on hard times through no fault of their own, by all means, let's band together and help them. But when that becomes their new way of life, and they're like, well, I'm not going to work now because I have this.
Why would you? There's no incentive not to. But if I was like, I'm going to pay your rent one time, right? And then I'm going to help coach you so that you're not in this predicament 30 days from now.
Yeah.
And it means you got to cancel Netflix, and you got to pare down your cell coverage. Or your cell plan. You got to not
Can't
go out
get
to
your
eat.
nails done.
Yeah. Here, I'll help. I'll pay your rent, but you're going to improve your life to get there. I'll bail you out right now. Right.
Yeah. We're going to help you in your hard times.
Yep.
Until you get back on your feet, with the idea that you will eventually get back on your feet.
Yep.
Not just endlessly say,
but it has to be
this is how I live now.
You shouldn't live there.
Yeah.
DI also affects innovation and technology. Yeah, it absolutely does.
What is companies with higher levels of DEI actually perform better, therefore boosting the economy?
from a logic standpoint, or like, what do you mean?
DEI also affects innovation and technology.
Yeah, like how does DEI, like in a meritocracy, you have the best qualified person for a position. How does DEI from a mathematical standpoint? Because my risk and liabilities go up when I have to hire for something other than the merit of the person that's in front of me.
Yeah.
The chances that you get a worse person are significantly higher than you getting an equal or better person. So I can see, like, there's some companies in Silicon Valley. I read articles when this first started, where some of their pipelines for recruiting were a certain way. DEI forced them to change their pipelines. Well, I credit DEI being the disruption that made them go into different demographic pools to be able to pull out talent, and it worked out for them. But DEI was the cause of the disruption, not the mathematics that put more merited people in those positions.
Right? They broke it enough to find a solution. They weren't the solution.
Exactly. So,
Okay.
and again, that would be considered a policy subsidy, where you do something as a disruptor on purpose to create enough entropy to make people do different things. And then you stumble on somebody who you would have never, found in any other way because you were forced there. So short term, make a disruption, go through the data. And, I don't buy that the aggregate data on DEI was a net positive. I think there were positives that came out because of it was a disruption. That's my personal deal. Ford actually did not make all good decisions. They were laying off 1,600. When I say good decisions, I say that they were financially solvent when their competitors weren't. So they were able to pivot at proper times to make sure that they didn't need a bailout. They didn't make all right things, but they would have survived. If natural would have happened, if they would have just let it play out, the other manufacturers would have got bought by competitors and product lines would have probably went away and Ford would have survived it. That was my point. Jerry says, go to Southwood's doctor or Mercy doctor, and they now bill a $300 to $400 treatment room fee to see the doctor for a follow-up or an initial visit. It is BS. They can get away with it, so they'll continue doing it.
Dang. Is that why every time I go to see a doctor and I check out, they never used to do it, always, all right, we're going to schedule you for a follow-up. And I go, okay. And I cancel it every time.
Yeah.
If I'm better and I'm good, I'm not coming back here to tell you guys, thanks, the meds worked, I'm better. Thanks, the treatment helped, I'm all better. But why do I come here to tell you that?
They have to keep inventing new revenue streams. It's not about like rendering an individual service. In order to be there and have the specialties that they have, requires a lot of money, right? To go through all these hoops. So as you make the margins go down on the services they provide, they have to make up that difference in cost by creating more revenue streams in other departments. That's why they'll sell you drugs you don't need. They'll do tests that you don't need. They'll charge you $300 to sit in one of their rooms. If it were true market forces, then I would deal with doctors that promised me 5 minutes in a waiting room, no more, your money back. Right.
Yeah.
Because as a consumer, you should be able to dictate those things. You should have a category of demand. Right. And even if you paid more for the service, right, they can make promises to you that you don't feel like you were served well, like you charged me too much and it took too long and it was a hassle. Like, why don't any of those things go in the overall price? If you go buy a car and you're put out at whatever, that takes some money off to make you happy.
Yeah.
I don't ever see healthcare doing that. It goes the other direction.
There's I won't say what it was. Well, they're out of business now. I guess it doesn't matter. But there was a restaurant my family and I used to go eat at often, ridiculously often, because it was very close. It was very convenient. We were in a season where one kid had this sporting activity and the other kid had this activity, and we needed something while we were out. We would go to this restaurant. And then we watched the service get increasingly worse. It took longer and longer. Now it's like, we can't even come here because we got to get here and you're taking too long. Then the food went downhill. My order's wrong. This is burned. This tastes terrible. And we've waited an hour for this. And we eventually stopped going. And you hear all these things like, oh, nobody wants to support local. No, your product sucked. And I don't want to go to somewhere and spend money that I'm not getting any value out of it for my money.
Yeah, they don't. That was my point, is they don't have to compete when you don't have the option to say no.
Yeah.
If you were paying meal insurance. Right?
Yeah.
And that
restaurant,
the restaurant, that was your only approved provider, and then they got the money no matter what. They wouldn't give two shits about the quality of food or how long.
We don't care.
No, you have to go there. You're being held against your will to go there, but that's what healthcare.
And what happened?
Will become.
They went out of business.
Yeah,
but
healthcare won't because it's a free ride for them.
Yep.
You can also turn kids away. I'm assuming that has to do with healthcare. When it is insurance. Insurance is meaning that you don't, if somebody doesn't meet the criteria of someone who you want to insure, you don't have to accept them. So let's just say you come to me and say, I have cancer. I get about $100,000 worth of treatments every year. I'd like you to offer me insurance. And the insurance company is like, oh, pre-existing conditions that basically mean that you're going to cost me at least $100,000, right, a year. What should your premium be? If the cost is $100,000, how much should I charge you?
You're probably going to charge me $100,000
more than it's going to cost me, or else I'm not in business anymore. I have to provide you services less than, like if I set yours at $100 a month, I know that I'm going to take a $900,000 or $90,000 bloodbath on anything that you're going to pay, and I wouldn't accept you. Obamacare forced those people in there. I had to offer you insurance, and even if you were 100% certain that I couldn't charge you enough to cover what you're about to come into the marketplace with. So turning kids away, it feels bad. Turning cancer patients away, that feels bad. But then decouple it from insurance, and then I'll have less of a. But you're taking insurance people, the good customers, and you're jamming in the bad customers. So it just becomes this hybrid of it's not really insurance anymore. It's just a pyramid scheme.
The turn kids away was part of. Penny Lane says, you're kidding me. Ohio is defunding public schools. The end game is to privatize. They gave $1 billion last year to private schools who don't have to follow the same guidelines. Why do you think all the schools are suing?
Yeah, I hope it happens, and I hope that whole status quo of public education dies in my lifetime. I hope it dies. I hope bad schools go out of business. I hope it gets replaced with a system that people who don't want to be there can go develop a trade or go get on a treadmill and, produce electricity. I don't care what they do, but you got to have education and learning be part of it. Not, again, a group of people who,
you can't just be babysitting.
That needs competition worse than any of those. Well, not worse, but equal to those other industries.
Yeah.
But those teachers unions will never let it happen. Public schools, they will force it. Yes, you can turn kids away. Kids that don't have the capacity to learn need to be placed. Like there could be all types of different schools. There could be problem kid schools. There could be derelict schools. There could be high achiever schools. Like you can have all kinds of schools. But when you force a bunch of different people, do you think when you walk into a public school and there's 15 kids that don't want to be there and 10 kids that do want to be there, do you think who's going to pay the consequence of putting those two groups in one school? Who gets shafted?
The people who want to be there.
Yeah. So if you want to have a dumber society, right? Give the disadvantage of the smart ones and cater to the people who don't even want to be there.
Yeah. I mean, I even get annoyed. And I mean, this happens with everything, but like, I love when I hear my kids talk about something really great they learned or a cool project they were working on or, something they accomplished in a class. And then it always gets overshadowed with the same two little punks I keep hearing about that got to cause problems, that got to cause trouble and fighting amongst kids and bullying and making it so they can't concentrate. And I'm like, somebody take these two little shits and get them out of here.
Right.
Like, why is this continuously overshadowing the good that they're doing?
Yeah, but we have all of these models that give us the symptoms of a Democrat, socialist, or full-blown socialism. That's what you get. If you are in that group that's being catered to, you love it. If you're the high achievers, you freaking hate it and think it's a huge injustice.
Yeah.
But still, the system keeps catering to the people who don't really want to or deserve to be there. Wealth inequality absolutely exists. Why doesn't Amazon have to pay taxes? They do have to pay taxes. Everybody has to pay taxes. Can I make this argument? Because this one happens all the time.
Yeah.
Okay. And this is because most of the normies out there, they don't pay attention to you until you're successful, right? What you have when you became successful, that's the beginning of the story.
Yeah.
When you are at the very beginning, right? So first of all, do you know the difference between someone who is a CEO or an owner of a company and someone who gets a paycheck? Do you know feel like that structure different? Do people who get paychecks pay more taxes than the people who own stocks and companies?
I've never been in that group.
Okay,
so.
most of the normies haven't either, and that's why they
Yeah.
don't understand how taxes work, because they think CEOs get, $1 million handwritten paychecks that have tax deductions and all that. They're connecting two things that are not alike at all.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how do people get taxed if you don't have a paycheck? Like if I'm a CEO and I have a $0 paycheck, how much am I taxed?
Zero.
$0. I didn't collect the paycheck.
Yeah.
All of my wealth is held in stocks that I own in this company. When I need some money, here's the part I will agree with, that there is a loophole. The only actual loophole that I have ever come across is when a wealthy person that owns stock takes a loan out against the value of the stock that they own. All right. And they use that money to buy something and it's not taxed. Right.
Yeah.
But in a normal, and I don't know why we allow that to exist. That's one that I disagree with. That needs to go away tomorrow. Anytime that you sell an asset that has value, a car, a house, or whatever, you have what it costs to buy. And in this case, I got paid in stock from somebody, so my cost to buy that was $0. When I sell some of that stock, right, it has a $0 seed, and then maybe I sold 1 million share or $1 million. Well, I'm taxed at a corporate rate, or the sale of that, a realized gain of 30%. So if I look down to your paycheck and you paid 30%, when I sold my stock, I paid 30%. I can have no realized gains in that year, and I don't have to pay any money when it's realized gains. Okay, so there's that.
Mm-hmm.
And back to the Amazon thing. So Amazon lost money for almost a decade. 200,000 here, 5 million here, 10 million here. The losses over that 10 years. So they basically had a negative number, Amazon's total profit over the course of 10 years. So when you have a loss, right, you're able to write that loss off to future gains. So if I lost $10 million in 2000 and I made, what did I say, $10 million?
Yeah.
$10 million in 2010, how much money did I make? $0, right?
Yeah.
But if you don't take into account the losses that came before the gain, right?
Yeah.
And you just said, look, they made $10 million and they paid $0 in taxes. There's more to that story and what the government makes you do. So if I have a loss, I have to depreciate that loss over a number of years. So if I lose something, and this isn't unfair on the corporate side of things. So if I have $1 million, right, of revenue, and I lost $10 million, okay, I have to take my $10 million, and I can only take $1 million of the loss this year, $1 million in the next year, $1 million next year, $1 million of the next year, right? Now, if I made $1 million and I lost $5 million, okay, I would have to take that $5 million. Now on that year's revenue sheet, I have $1 million in revenue and $500,000 in losses. So on paper, I have to pay taxes on the difference between those two things because it was a realized gain. Now I'm paying taxes on money that I didn't even get yet. I lost $10 million or $5 million.
Yeah.
But I have to get my write-downs over the course of the next 10 years. So it might be 10 years in the future, I'm wildly profitable, but I'm still doing write-downs from 10 years ago.
I'm still making up from everything I lost.
That's exactly right. So you have to take equal things. Like there's two games being played. There are things that aren't fair in each one of those games, but you can't compare a wealth inequality of someone who has a 401k versus someone who has stock wealth.
Well, yeah, like you said earlier, if you're a billionaire and I am not, and you're utilizing loopholes, could I not also have access to those loopholes?
Start a company, have those same rules apply to you, do the same things, and then you too will pay $0 in taxes.
The only thing unequal is one person did it and the other person did not.
Right. Two very convoluted, complicated systems that smart people who have teams of lawyers, they know how to pay the least amount in taxes. You going to the free tax preparer and doing your taxes, you're probably paying more only because you're not investing the time and investment. Do you know what compliancy on the tax side of things on the corporate? Like if you had to have a whole team of lawyers and paid $5 million worth of compliancy every year, right? It's not free, right?
Yeah. Oh, I've seen multiple videos now online. Like I'm now, I think, getting served this content on YouTube, and it's regular people who are not millionaire billionaires talking to millionaire billionaires and asking them all these things and saying, oh, must be nice to do this and must be nice to do that. And they don't even listen when they're like, do you have any idea how much I struggled for years? Like I'm only a millionaire since 5 years ago. I only now have money in my late 40s, 50s, whatever. I was poor and struggling and depressed and not eating because I couldn't afford it. And I lived this way, lower than you, the majority of my life until I finally made some good money by working hard. And number one, they completely disregard that. I don't care. All I see is what you have now. That must be nice. Why don't you give it away? Which is always their second point. Why do you have all this money and why don't you give it away? And you know what they say? Here's the list of the millions I've given away. I gave to this. I gave to this. I gave to this. I saw an interview. It was like the CEO of Morgan & Morgan. He's like, here's some legislation that I went and I addressed people in Washington about we need to change this policy, blah, blah, blah. And it helped all these people. It helped them make money. You don't see that, do you? But you think I'm the bad guy.
Yeah. And, you know, during that whole marathon socialism rant that I had before, the people who will create the regulations that stop new people from getting in the game are the people who go after the billionaires.
Yeah.
Because they make it so complicated because they want to go get your money that a new guy coming into that loses all the advantages. Like if you take all the incentive away of doing that, make it really hard to be that, then when I say just go be a billionaire too, it's almost impossible because we've assaulted that class of people so much. Who would ever want to?
It is easier to make that class look like the bad guy, get everybody to hate them, and take their money than it is to explain to the others why they have it and you don't, and what you can do to get it.
Yeah.
That's too complicated. Let me just take yours and give it to them.
Yeah, but that's where socialism leads, is that you see something, that the envy of seeing someone that has something that you really want, and you justify going after them. And then you make it harder for anyone else who, you know, to join that class. I want more people to become millionaires and billionaires. Everybody has not everybody, but most people have the capacity to do it, but they think too much like a poor person. And when you think like a poor person, that's the thing. You look at your victim of they got and I didn't, and you want what they have without earning it.
Yep.
Because it's not equal from the beginning. Everyone doesn't have the same opportunities from birth. That's if you're not taking into account any privileges or opportunity. None of that stuff exists in my world. There is nobody that I've ever met besides somebody who is born with some kind of actual defect or disease that isn't capable of participating. And every year that goes by, it becomes harder and harder to convince people that they can do that too, either because we've made everybody out to be a victim, right? So let's play that out. Where do you want everybody to start from? Right? If everybody's not starting from the same thing. So a poor kid that's living in inner city versus a kid that lives, a rich kid that lives in the suburbs, right? What do you want them to do? I give the poor kid in the inner city a better chance of succeeding than the rich suburbanite every time. Why?
They know how to work.
Because what making it means that you have to be motivated and persistent.
Yeah.
And if I'm going to put money on which one is going to be motivated and stay motivated long enough to do it, I'm taking the person that sees what not having is and doesn't want to be there, than the kid that really, it's my mom will take care of me if whatever. Every single time I'm putting money on inner city.
I mean, it's a fact. Some people are born into a wealthy family and some are not. Some people are born into royalty and some are not. We are not all going to start at the same league. And if you think you should take from someone who is, then you will also be taken from, because there's someone poorer than you. So if you grew up in a middle to lower class family, can the person growing up in super low take from you? So there's always going to be somebody better.
But it's not finite. So
Right.
someone being ahead of you does not mean that you can also be ahead.
Right. Just like that, we've talked about that Brian Johnson guy who was saying, I was poor. I did not always have money. I was not given anything, yet became a billionaire. Do we currently have billionaires that were not born into a wealthy family? Yes. So it does happen. It's not like the only billionaires we have bred each other. We got money illegally through unequal opportunities that you don't have, and we just pass it down to each other and we shove you aside and you're not allowed to touch it. That's not a thing. That would be inequality. That's not what real life is.
And the frictions of going through the struggle, and just like the urban kid that has a real world experience with it being harder than they want it to be, the frictions of getting there, right? They earn it. They get there by their ideas or their talents or whatever. And I watch so many, trust fund kids and second generation business owners that didn't have to go through any of those struggles. You know what they end up doing? They jack it up.
They blow
because they have no idea what they have.
Yep.
Right? They couldn't redo it even if they tried. But I will have the confidence in the person that built their stuff, knowing that they can do it again and again and again.
Yeah.
That person is stronger. So if I were to pick something out for my kid, do you think I've deprived my kid advantages?
Probably.
All the time. There's no way. Like, I will take all of my companies and he will not run any of them. He has to prove out that he's capable of doing it. Right.
Yeah.
So and it wouldn't be that there would be a, sort of like a windfall for him is what I'm trying to deprive. That's whatever. Even if I made enough money, that he'd never had to actually function well in any of the businesses that I would hand him, he would be a weak individual that knows that he couldn't operate outside of that little bubble that I created for him. And I'm not going to create a weak kid.
Oh yeah. We tell our kids all the time, there's a couple of accounts that are making money for them for their future. But guess what? You're still getting a job and you're still paying your own car payment and you're still paying for your phone and you're still paying for this. I don't care if you say, well, that account can pay for all of this. No. Nope. You learn how to survive and how to provide for yourself and how to work, because all the kids that just get handed everything, they don't understand what it took to get it and they blow it.
Yeah. But that concentration of wealth is sort of an anomaly. And it's really interesting to see, like, if we took 100 people in Youngstown and gave them all $1 million, right? That wealth would concentrate. It's not like all of them will keep $1 million and not make that money go to somebody else. And whoever's better at scraping the demand from people, that money will go to. And then what do you go to the person who satisfied all the demands of your 100 millionaires that you sent out there and said, oh, they have $100 million. That's not fair. And then all the millionaires that you gave it to didn't know how to get that money in the first place. They lost it all. Are you going to go to the smart person, take everything from them, pick a new lot of millionaires to go out to, and watch the concentration happen over and over and over again?
Yeah. I mean, we even saw this during COVID when everybody was literally handed money. Biden said, here's money for you. Here's money for you. What did they call it? There was a term. Oh my God. What was it? The stimulus? Whatever.
Stimmies. Yeah. I got the stimmies.
Yeah. Yeah. Like it was meant to go and like stimulate the economy and do all this stuff and whatever. There were people that maybe took that and did something smart with it. And there are people I saw that blew it. Mm-hmm. They bought a motorcycle that then got repossessed. They bought a new TV and it broke. They did it, like, whatever it is, you will see how even if some people are handed it, they'll blow it.
Yeah, for sure. Because the frictions get you to the point where you deserve that thing. And democratic socialism is basically giving people who have no responsibility in the act of having received something, so they don't value it. They take it for granted.
Yeah.
They demand it. And then you create a bunch of, like, I'm going to say the welfare queens, the across the board welfare queens who couldn't create it today unless someone gave it to them.
Then they sit back and go, oh, must be nice. That's not fair. You have that. It's inequality.
Yeah. So the whole farmer welfare queens, in order to make the analogy one for one, you would have to say, like, you'd have to make the case that you operated on certain rules and then someone came and changed them on you. Not that you started off from a position where you can factor in all of the rules, but somebody changed them on you that altered how you can make your living. So let's just say, somebody who had, we'll use AI for an example. And the rules were that you were allowed to build data centers and you were allowed to software program and you pay your employees and whatever. And all of a sudden I came along and said, hey, we're changing the rules. I know you got all this money invested and you were buying into the fact that the rules were going to stay the same. Now we're putting a 75% surcharge on your labor. You got to pay 75% of there. Well, that's a rule change that you couldn't have factored in because you didn't know it was going to happen. Right. Mm-hmm. So that's sort of like if you had a person, how could you change someone's factoring? Like, let's just say you went to college and you were told that if you went to college, you would get a $60,000 job. Right. And then so you went to class and you paid your bills and you went to college. And then on the other side of that, right, it was like, oh, by the way, it's not $60,000. In fact, you're probably not going to have any kind of job at all.
Yeah.
If a rule was changed during that, where somebody didn't come through on their part of the transaction or change the rules of it, now I think that they should be, looking to make you whole again, because all they did in that was listen to you, and you ended up changing the rules governing what they did. So
yeah. Actually, especially with women as executives, there has been an upward trend correlating that with financial performance.
What's that? The 70%? That statistic that says women make 70% of what men do? The biggest bullshit statistic of ever.
She's saying that's been changed since
what has?
Women executives? Is that what you mean? Especially with women as executives, there has been an upward trend correlating that with financial performance.
Well, I'm sure as more women become executives and they realize executive pay, it will be equal to what other executives that can provide the same kind of performance. Shareholders and board of directors, they all require the same thing, and they don't care if a man or a woman's doing it. It should be blind to the fact that, what gender the person is that's sitting there.
There was one time I found myself in a position years ago. I worked in an office that the employees, for the most part, everybody kind of did the same thing. There was like, really, this person handles this, and this person handles this, and this person handles this. But like, for instance, if I was in one realm, I could still go and do some of what the others do. And I remember a new hire coming along and there being some scuttle in the office because somebody else saw that person's paycheck or whatever got left out on someone's desk. And I remember going, huh. And I couldn't help but think, from what I heard, I didn't know, I didn't get involved, I didn't ask this person, but from what I heard, the newcomer doing less than me, and I do the same thing as them, is making more. I've been here longer. We do the exact same thing. I'm more experienced. And I couldn't help but wonder, that was a man and I was a woman. And part of me is like, it creeps in. Is it because I'm a woman? Or was there something more there? There may have been. But I think there is this culture we have that people start looking for reasons as to why. Was it ever men made more than women? Ever? Like decades ago? Probably. Could that have started this? Like it was a thing? When did it stop becoming a thing? I'm just saying I could see the blurred lines there. But
women and men are different. They have different patterns of behavior. They are willing to do certain things. Women are more agreeable, men less agreeable. So if you take all of the attributes of women, and if they're acting and behaving as women, then statistically they are a different thing of comparison, different metrics of comparison.
But again, some are different. Not all women act the same. Not all men act the same.
Well, we're talking about statistics. So if you're going to use a statistic that says women make 70% and not use statistics about what men and women are comparative, you want to take an isolated incident. So if you say that you work harder and you should be paid more than whatever, I'm going to take someone who works harder and is paid. So you're taking a 1-for-1 comparison. You can't kind of switch logic on me if you're going to use statistical versus statistical.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying devil's advocate as to why people think.
Yeah, there are primary reasons why women make less than men. Some of them are biological, some of them are behavioral. So do you think men and women are different? Do you think that if they behaved and did the same things, that they would be paid the same things?
You're saying their sex is different, but in any other way, they're the same?
Well, they have the same ability. They have the same talent. Okay, so here, let's just take Joe and Kelin. I bet you I get a better outcome than you. Okay, we're both walking up to someone, and I'm going to walk in there knowing what I'm worth, making demands, right? And telling them I'm not going to do anything until they give me what I'm after. And Kelin walks in there, and she gives them her resume. She gives them her resume, goes through all the great reasons that she would be a great hire, never making the demand of what she is unwilling to do because she's not aggressive in that way. You are hoping that they would acknowledge your talents. I demanded that they would acknowledge my talents. So then you don't get paid more because you didn't demand it because you're more agreeable than me. So I can very easily see me getting a better outcome than you because you didn't do the same thing I did, right? You were not willing to do the same thing.
So if I went in and made the demand and you did not, I would have a better outcome than you?
For sure. Because an employer is not going to like give some charity and say, I am the justice arbiter and I want to make sure all things are equal and fair. Just like you would not go into a name your own price, whatever place and say, I see that you have this chicken for $10 and I know this chicken costs $20. So I want to give you $20 for it because I want things all to be just. The normal people are to get the best value out of what's sitting in front of them. And there's behaviors that make more realized value. It is a huge advantage to be less agreeable, know what values are, know what your data is, so you can go demand it and be willing to say no. Women just don't like to be like aggressive. They don't like to fight. They don't like to have the confrontation. So they make less because they demand less. And that's just one attribute. So the other attributes are the number of hours willing to work. Women have more, they value family and relationships, right? So if you took the workload of a man and a workload of a woman, and you said, oh, well, this guy was working 14-hour days, willing to work into the evenings, worked on weekends, almost said, if there was a soccer game or whatever, they were more willing to stay at work than whatever. And you have women who are like, no, I want to spend more time with my family, and I don't really want to work 12 hours a day. And I like having these little engagements where I go to soccer games and whatever. Now, you took the total number of hours willing to be spent, and a man will sacrifice themselves more on purpose than a woman who will defend against the sacrifice.
So if in this example of the office I was in, if the new hire was a man and I was a woman, I was there longer, I do stay later, I do come in early, and I do work longer hours, and I do the same things. If he made more, would you say that looks like bullshit?
I would have to do a side-by-side comparison, and I will tell you why you made less based on that side-by-side comparison. It might be what you demanded, how you spoke, how you had your ducks in order as far as data goes. And I'm going to guess you demanded less and you were more agreeable. That's probably the most likely.
Could be they came in and said, here's what I want, and that's what I'm taking. Exactly right. And they were like, I need somebody. So
it might have been more than they were thinking of paying, but because when I said that's what it was going to be, they accommodated because they wanted me.
They're like, we need somebody.
And then you might have got what they had in mind to pay. And since you didn't demand more, they just gave you what they demanded. It wasn't a slight on you. It's just you were a bad negotiator. But again, if you want to believe that it's discrimination, right, you can make the argument for that. And if you don't have methods of comparison, you might be right, but you might not be right either. But if you tell a whole group of women how they can't make it versus what I tell them to do, here's what I do. See what a man does. I told you the secret sauce. If you want to make what a man does, right, find out what your high demanders are and just do that. If you want to run a marathon, do everything a marathon. Don't make judgments and, little exceptions for yourself. Just go do those same things. Okay, a guy walked in there. I watched him do it. And he said, dude, I'll walk right now unless you give me X, Y, Z. And you watch him get what he wants. You're going to be like, oh, okay. Well, instead of going in there and saying, hey, I'd really like a little bit more, right? That's not going to work. And that might. So that's the secret sauce is no.
It can still be a risky game.
It is a risky game.
Yeah.
Men take more risks than women.
I heard a statistic recently about women who wear makeup are more successful than those who don't. And someone might be like, oh, it's because it's this misogynistic world. And if you look prettier, you get farther. No, what it is they show up differently. They present themselves differently. They feel different. They act different than someone who does not feel that same way. Yeah. And that's where it translates.
Yeah, the behaviors. That's what I'm saying. Like, you need a 1-for-1 camera view where you can watch both things happen. Okay. And it could be perceptions. But once you know that about a marketplace, either you're an idealist that you wish certain things didn't happen. So if you got out of a ticket because you exposed bare breasts and I don't have bare breasts to expose, it's still, you would take advantage of the thing that was more likely to happen, not be like a feminist and say, well, I'm not going to show my bare breasts, fall to the consequence, and then complain about the consequence that you knew about going into it.
Yeah. Carter says, I miss Julie. I haven't sparred with her in a while. Where has Julie been? Is Julie on vacation?
We got to check in, make sure Julie's okay.
She might be on vacation. Joseph, recommend any snowboarding place.
That's random, Joseph. We're just talking about my impugning feminism, and you want to know about snowboarding
it's the places? Battle of the sexes. You want to snowboard?
So Brandywine, are you talking like local or like a ski resort?
Listen, we're having a heat wave right now.
Yeah, it's like 50 degrees. But they're pumping out the snow. But if it rains, that'll ruin the snow that they got. But anyway, Brandywine's a good place here local. All right, let's get out of here.
Yeah.
We went long. We pissed too many people off. Thanks everybody for joining us. We'll catch you tomorrow.
Thank you for listening to this show on Youngstown Studio. This is original Youngstown content. Feel free to share our videos and tell your friends about us. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook. Thank you for your support.